You're watching Business Unusual here on Newsroom Africa Channel 405, bringing to you the top business stories that are moving markets on this Thursday. And I'm joined in studio now by the Chairman of the Whitford Group and analyst Adil Nchabeleng, and going to be taking a look at a few stories here. Adil, how are you doing, man?
I'm good, and how are you?
I'm good. Let's start here with the Monetary Policy Committee. We know in the next few hours that they're going to be making their announcement on prime lending rates. What are some of your own expectations? I certainly was holding out some faith for a 25 basis point cut, but somebody I spoke to last night said, you know, these guys don't work on faith, and they work on the quarterly projection model. What are you seeing there?
Look, the committee is meeting. They're going to be coming up with a decision. Most economists are betting that there won't be any repo rate change, and whatever is expected, because of the economy is not actually performing at all. There's been a slump in terms of economic performance. There hasn't been really much movement in terms of what has been gained over the last quarter in terms of growth. So there has been challenges in the economy, and with regards to the interest rate actually being reduced, it will be actually ideal because it will stimulate borrowing as well as bringing in fresh capital into the market. But right now, everybody is speculating that there might just be a freeze in terms of cutting the interest rate. It will stay the same at 6%.
Seems that's the most likely outcome there. But let's shift our attention now to the national carrier, SAA. Long-standing issue here. It started probably this time last week, the standoff here between some of the worker representatives and the management and the shareholder at the Department of Public Enterprises. Where are we there?
SAA is a very interesting case right now. The unions, which is NUMSA as well as SACA, the South African cabin crew, as well as workers in the cabin crew space, have actually shut down. I mean, last week, over the Friday and the weekend, they did a total shutdown and tools down on SAA because of wage negotiations and other related issues around staff insourcing into SAA properly. And there is now a looming staff cuts as well. So on the issue of SAA is quite interesting. I mean, the minister came out on Wednesday and said that SAA doesn't have money. You know, SAA might not even be paying salaries. Even if they demand to be given an increase, there is no guarantee that there will be, you know, staff salaries payment at the end of the month. So we're sitting with a situation which is quite really strange. You have an airline that operates, creates and generates revenue. Remember, every ticket is paid for in advance, but yet there is no money in the airline. I mean, how does that work? Money is being generated.
Where's the money?
Money goes into a company's accounts. Money is sold on ticket counter sales and everywhere, but there is no money in SAA. So it doesn't add up at some point.
And there's never a flight that leaves empty.
No way. Flights are fully booked. Workers are even claiming that all our flights are fully booked, yet we are told that we cannot even have a meager 8% salary increase. I mean, they're calling for an 8%. They didn't even go for the 14%, almost a double digit as it was in the past. They've gone for a much more reasonable, within the inflation targeting, 8%, and that even is not possible. The offer currently on the table was that they can get a 5.8% increase. And the unions are saying, what are you going to do with the 5.8%? I mean, it's not even at inflation. It is not even at the point where they could be growing. So this is going to be a bit of a tension. On top of it there is the looming job cuts. About 944 workers are facing and axing if SAA gets to be partially privatized. That's one of the, you know, what you call a fear that is coming out of the airline. And a lot of issues relating to core management, executive processes, the appointment of chief executives. After Jahana left, there was a bit of a vacuum and the clarity on strategy. Nobody understands where the airline is going towards. But the issue is, critically, is the revenue. And one of the other oversight is nobody's watching. There's two elements in an airline. One is your fleet, one is your fuel. On transportation, fleet and fuel is the only key elements that you need to look at. Cost of workers is always going to be there. It's minimal. But if you don't manage your fleet, you don't manage your fuel, you're going to have a crisis.
People have said a lot about some of the fuel contracts here that continue to be a massive drain on revenue. What do you make of that? And more importantly, what do you make of whether or not the fleet is in good nick here?
Currently, the fleet is leased. The fleet is actually being paid on a monthly basis over an inflated lease fees. So it's a big problem. They need to renegotiate that whole fleet arrangement. And they need to bring in a fleet contracts that will make sure that the airline becomes profitable. Second, if you don't manage your fuel, you cannot be taking, for instance, a local trip where you need a single engine. They're taking a twin engine, running into Bloemfontein, running into Polokwane, and that kind of a scenario. When you manage a airline, you have to always be critical on looking at the infrastructure, particularly your fleet in this case, as what it costs you to move through the routes. The other thing is the regional routes. The most profitable routes, which are long distances, Africa, intra-Africa routes, and the other ones which are international. Landing sites are the most profitable for any airline, and they are actually, those landing sites are an asset to the airline. But nobody seems to be understanding the mechanisms of actually managing the airline's element of income, revenue versus what causes losses, and what is not managed properly here. Being critically looking at, why have they not hedged their fuel spend? You could have hedged it. Prices of fuel were at some lowest level at some point. They knew that there was going to be price hikes and everything. You buy in advance, you hedge, you make contract agreements, and then you put it on so that you do that market. But they don't understand the fundamentals of running an airline, unfortunately. And that is why the workers are saying, like, we are actually even much more competent, because you're constantly bringing in new faces that gets in. They takes them a year or so to get a strategy going. Before they understand the dynamics of the airline, they are gone out of the way. And there is always the interference. There's always the department and government and the politics side of the interference, which is constantly holding back the airline from moving forward.
Let's pause on that, and that's a developing story that we're going to watch quite closely here, and we want to see how that particular story unfolds. But the other one, I thought, we can't let you go, Adil, without asking some of your own views about the new GCEO at Megawatt Park.
A very interesting appointment. I have never in my life seen an opposition of this momentous note, whereby the whole country went into a rage.
And
Black,
the bond markets.
White, colored, and Indian. Even the bond market didn't even perform. They said, look, we don't understand this individual. I mean, he is one of the people we understand. He is running a listed company. It has not performed over the years. He's lost it from 44 to now 5 billion capitalization. He is not one of the really best known candidates that can turn around an organization and make it profitable, because bond markets are looking at value. They're not looking at restructuring. They're not interested in what you're going to do to create, to kill value.
And the quality of predictable
the rand,
cash
by the
flows.
way, took actually a knock when the announcement happened. The rand weakened because, again, the markets are observing the in this position and say, listen, in the best interest of South Africa, from a national point of view, from a transformation point of view, I might be the preferred candidate within closed corridors, but nationally people are objecting. Why must I go ahead and take on this position? He is not seemingly interested in coming out and actually saying he's not going to declare.
Well, Adil, he hasn't, right? And we assume that in January 2020, he's going to resume his duties at Megawatt Park.
I wonder which office he's going to work into, because workers are already upset. They said he's not going to go in there. People are saying this man is not going to be allowed into ESCOM. Even if government tries and pushes the decision, they are not going to budge it. So the problem becomes is, why do you have a democratic system and then impose an autocratic process onto the people? You don't give people a choice. This process should have been transparent, should have been open, like they do it in the PPP's position. When you're appointing a public protector, when you're appointing a chief justice, the same thing with a big company like this in the South African context.
On whose fortune all of us rely.
Impose a transparent, open category process by saying, let's see the best in the country, let's see them taken through the process of being filtered through. About 142 people applied, mainly black. Out of it, only one white person comes out.
In a country with 80%
not a racist issue. In a country of 90%.
90%, yeah. Well, 80% African, yeah.
So where's the element of transformation? Where is the element that represents the ambitions of making sure that South Africa? A week ago, we were celebrating a transformation rugby, where a black captain won the World Cup rugby. And this week, we're celebrating what? The misery of an appointment of an untransformation candidate. And this is where you see the politics at the loggerheads. A few organizations have come in trying to pedal back and actually just endorse a rubber stamp agreement of what government is going through. But this is no longer an individual, because the individuals making choices are not necessarily the people. The state we're living in is now much more an active citizen-based government, where people have an opinion. Facebook, social media, WhatsApp. I mean, you're looking at the other means. Even Instagram was on fire, by the way, over the appointment of, Andre de Reuters. People are furious. I mean, it doesn't even matter anymore about color. Guys are saying this guy is not going to push it. The unions have gone into a massive rage and an outcry. They're saying that they're not going to support this individual. They've seen his trends in Nampek. They've seen how he sabotages his own teams, and where he works as a subordinate, he refuses to follow instruction. How he did it in Sasol. Now they put him into Nampek. He took Nampek, completely untransformed it, got the whole board to be white, and removed everyone else who was against his strategy of literally
Killed off a
not
few
following.
business units as well.
So, and it cleared up the whole. I mean, this Nampek was making paper, tissue paper. It was making metals, cans. It was making what do you call it? Bottles.
Yes.
You can't fail in a market that you're already a dominant monopoly in.
So Adil, you are raising. Burn approach, this downsize, distribute kind of approach, cutting business units, really streamlining an operation, and with the medium-term strategy of Eskom being to unbundle it into these 3 different units. Surely this might be the guy.
So you are suggesting that they brought in a wrecking ball, a guy who's going to do the shredding,
Well,
the liquidation
kamikaze pilots.
process. Yeah, because he's a liquidator probably, and he's going to bring his legal skills of thrashing the whole thing apart, liquidating it up, and breaking it up into units so that it's ready for sale. If that is the strategy, then we have a national crisis. Because at the end of the day, Eskom cannot fail. Eskom is too big. Eskom is too big to be broken up. The unions have refused completely to say unbundling is not the way. If they should be doing is they should be bundling up and building 10 Escoms to come in the next coming 10 years in South Africa.
And even playing in the
where to be
renewables
playing the right space. And play in all the space, renewables, baseload,
nuclear.
ensure that there is a proper supply of energy. We have just been opened up in terms of the, the no borders policy in South Africa, whereby you can trade anywhere in the continent. And now we have a free trade agreement which cannot be enforced because South Africa does not even have enough power to keep the lights on, to keep your electrical light in the kitchen on. What are you going to do industrially? So we have a bit of a crisis at an energy level whereby this man, and I just think, Andre de Reuters must just go back and be a good lawyer. He's already famous. He can make it up and cut it up in there. But in terms of really leading Eskom, he's not going to cut it. Guys are upset and they are going to sabotage him to bits and pieces. And I think they should actually get rid of him. He should just accept that, like what happened when they recalled Praveen was actually, sacked, and then they appointed Desvan Royan. They should accept the same process, that this one is not cutting it. It's a week now, and people don't want him. And now if the people are speaking out, I mean, this is not a party politics issue now. It's a national issue. Everybody has expressed their disgust, their rejection, and they're saying that he must be out. So processes must be applied. If they did it before in the past, they were dissatisfied about a candidate, and that candidate was reversed. Why can't they do the same with the Eskom appointment? If they're going to force it, then we're no longer living in a democracy. We're living in an autocratic state whereby there are imperial emperors that are enforcing decisions in South Africa.
Adil Nchabeleng, always a pleasure catching up with you. At 405 business _. That there was Adil Nchabeleng, is an analyst and chairman of the Whitford Group, unpacking, of course, the big elephant this particular week, and that certainly has been the biggest news story, which is the appointment as the group CEO at Eskom and at Megawatt Park of Andre de Reuters. After the break, we take a look at some of the conversations we've had in the previous episodes. It's Throwback Thursday.